Well, thank you, Carson. On Saturday, entering the JMA Wireless Dome, Syracuse was coming off its second defeat of the season at the hands of Pitt, and up against a Virginia Tech team that was coming off 3 straight wins. And after 30 minutes, it felt like Syracuse was going to add another loss to that column. But they were able to fight back, and through an unlikely source. It was Justice Ross Simmons who's got things going in the third quarter. Syracuse were down 28-3 at this point. Off to the races he goes, a 55-yard touchdown. This is someone who didn't even have a reception going into this game on Saturday. Had 4 receptions for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns as well to cut the Hokie lead. Then in overtime, LeQuint Allen Jr. spinning his way to the end zone. He tied the game at the end of regulation to force OT. And then when Virginia Tech had possession again, it was Marlowe Wax who forced the fumble, which won the game for Syracuse. Marlowe Wax back in the lineup, having been injured for the last month and a half or so. And it's not the only time that Syracuse have been able to make a comeback. We saw what happened against number 25, UNLV, down in that one, and against NC State. They were up in that game, but NC State got the ball to start the second half, went down the field, and Syracuse were able to force the turnover. LeQuint Allen has been so clutch in these late moments as well. Now 2 game-winning rushing touchdowns in overtime. So if there's one thing that you have learned from Professor Waley today, it's to never discount this Syracuse team. Big ACC games, though, coming up for the Orange. First, this weekend against Boston College on the road. Because Clemson lost against Louisville over the weekend, the ACC title game is all of a sudden wide open. That one in Chestnut Hill will be a fun one. Carson, back to you.
And we are underway. Syracuse, who started the season ranked 25th. Pitt was unranked. Boy, the tables have turned since then. But if there's one more twist in the tail to end the regular season tonight, it could be very interesting, especially with results going on elsewhere. It's a Panthers team with championship expectations. Syracuse back to being the underdog once again. Nicholas Waley with you here on ACC Network Extra alongside Sam Reese. Sam, this is a game I think we've been both really looking forward to this week. What should we expect from both teams tonight?
Well, I think Pitt, the nature of how good they've been all season, they're going to try to get on the front foot right away and almost try to be so attack-minded, I think, Nick, to the point where they want to make Syracuse chase in the early stages. So the Orange have to be careful because Syracuse obviously coming off allowing 6 goals. They don't want that to happen again, but you also kind of have to get a win tonight if you want your NCAA tournament chances to stay alive. So you still got to be a little more attack-minded at the same time. So it's all about handling that balance if you're Coach McIntyre in the squad.
The Pitt Panthers practically guaranteed into that NCAA tournament. At the moment, share the regular season crown. They clinched it with a win against UVA last time out, 4-1 on that occasion. They do need at least a draw to make it their own. And on the front foot in the early going. Ready with control. Top of the area, Syracuse in the low block, trying to stop him. And really good defending by Christian Fortier to win it back, and Syracuse counter quickly. Daniel Burko couldn't control.
And it's little things like that where you come away with a nice steal if you're Syracuse, but if you're Burko, you gotta have a better touch there in the midfield to potentially spark a counterattack, because those are likely the best chances you're gonna get if you're Syracuse at the other end.
It's a Pitt team that has dominated possession. On many occasions have had over 65% of possession in more than 3 games this season in the ACC. They play some really fluid soccer and have really impressed. Have slowly built into one of the best teams in the country, and surely a contender for the national championship in just about a month's time. Syracuse, they're not out of it yet. They do need to pick up a few results, particularly tonight and in the first round of the ACC tournament. And it's not a guarantee of who they'll play yet either. Obviously, depending on results elsewhere, every ACC team is playing tonight, except for UVA, who played yesterday. One goes out of play. It will be a Pitt throw.
This is not an official coining, but I'm calling it ACC Decision Day, just like you have in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
Not all the matches simultaneous, but just about. We've got almost every match that's being played tonight happening right now, with the exception of Stanford Cal, the West Coast game, which will be kicking off at 10 p.m. Eastern time. But exciting stuff all around.
It's a physical battle already in midfield. That one's launched forward. Albert Thornton will beautifully control. Dawson shot away. And nicely collected by Thomas Hutt, his first action of the evening.
It's got to be difficult for Hutt as well, coming off allowing those 6 goals at Clemson. Of course, not all his fault by any means, but looking for a bounce-back performance. So to get that first save under your belt, yeah, it wasn't a tough one to make, but I have a feeling it's going to be tested quite a bit.
Threadgold forced to stretch his legs. Got options in the center. Threadgold. Lovely control. Fortier. Nathan Scott. Can he find an opening? Goes down. The referee waves away the appeals. And Pitt can quickly turn the other way. Vetosa. Albert Thorson loses his footing, goes down. It's not the first time we've seen players slip already tonight. A little bit of a slick day here in Central New York. We're coming off of 2 days of unbelievable weather, it has to be said, at this time of year. 80 degrees plus. And that's completely changed. We're in the low 50s tonight. Possibly will drop into the 40s as the night goes on. That means that turf will be that little bit more slick. Jafamba. Fortier controls it back to Jafamba. He nearly lost his footing again, but was able to stay on his feet. Rosenblatt. Now it's crossed into the area towards the back post. It drops nearly to Threadgold. Fortier! What a start for Syracuse! Christian Fortier scored a wonder goal against Charlotte earlier in the year. He's now done it against #3 Pittsburgh. What a start for the Orange.
We highlighted him off the top because of the fact that he hasn't been a regular starter this season. Only the 3rd time he's been inserted into the starting 11 by Coach McIntyre, but the freshman lives for these moments, Nick. One-time finish, and he couldn't have drew it up better. Just a beautiful strike, and let's be real, Cabral Carter didn't stand a chance.
What a moment. A Syracuse team coming off its worst loss in the tenure of head coach Ian McIntyre. And it's the freshman, Christian Fortier, who scores his 2nd huge goal of the season. And what about it, with power to add. What a moment for the Canada native. And my, does that change things across the ACC landscape.
Well, Joey Spallina has been the spearhead for this Syracuse offense for his first 2 seasons here at SU, and had a little bit of a slow start by his standards against Jacksonville, but in the end he had 5 points on the day, including 3 goals and 2 assists.
Yeah, Spallina himself has said that he's a pass-first guy. He was looking for open players, and it's not really uncommon to see him just sit behind X and look for those attackers that are cutting across towards the crease. So it makes sense that he wasn't always attack-minded, and his ability to go out there and find the rest of the Syracuse offense was really special.
Spallina, the #1 recruit in the country, just 3 years ago has been an integral part of this Syracuse team since he stepped foot on campus. Just last season had 88 points, and like we mentioned, against Jacksonville, just an efficient outing throughout. Well, Syracuse is coming into the season with 5 newcomers, 2 very key transfers, and especially when you've lost your best player, it was fair there were going to be a few early season troubles, and we've seen that over the first 3 games of the season. Syracuse starting the season 1-2, worst start since 2006. It hasn't been all that bad, but there's still growing pains.
When you have a bunch of players come in,
Yeah, Wake Forest up against Pitt at the moment, and there's another team that's playing Pitt tonight in the Steel City, and it is, of course, the Syracuse Orange football team, and at the moment against the #19 team in the country. It really hasn't gone the way that a lot of people at least expected, at least hoped for if you were a fan of the Syracuse Orange. Not looking good at all. 17-0 in favor of the Panthers. Kyle McCord, Syracuse quarterback, 3 interceptions, including a pick 6.
yep, that's been the problem, Nicky.
Welcome to Central New York one last time in the regular season. Alongside Sam Reese, I'm Nicholas Waley. And Sam, these 2 teams aren't just making up the numbers on the final day of the season. Both have things to play for. We mentioned about Pitt, but Syracuse could even drop in the ACC standings tonight.
Absolutely, a whole lot at stake, Nick, even though it's the regular season finale. Pitt could have some work to do to secure that #1 spot, as you mentioned, and then Syracuse trying to solidify the highest seed they can, because if things go wrong tonight, they could slide down those standings.
Well, Syracuse is coming off its worst loss under head coach Ian McIntyre, 6-1 against Clemson last time out. And a big reason why was because they were without their captain due to suspension, Sam Layton. Boy, are they happy he's back in the lineup.
Oh, it's massive to have the grad student back.
Well, the ACC certainly one of those elite conferences in the nation. 6 members in the top 25, at least most recent one in the AP poll. This is a conference that, however, has struggled in NCAA tournament play over the past few years. Only Notre Dame has won the national title in the ACC on the women's side, unless you count Stanford, who of course have joined just this past season. But look, this is still such an elite conference with high talent week in, week out. Makes it why the ACC is such a good basketball conference.
100%.
Welcome back to SU Soccer Stadium alongside Adam Gotkin. I'm Nicholas Waley, and Adam, your first half thoughts. Obviously, Syracuse looking the much better team at the moment. Niagara looking for a few answers for sure.
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me in that first half was how direct Syracuse was when it had the ball. 9 of the 15 shots that the Orange took found the net. Last season, shooting percentage for the Orange was one of the worst in the country. Last time out against Colgate, just 4 of the 16 shots ended up being on net. But so far in this one, Syracuse has been direct and it's been successful.
Let's take a look at those first half highlights, and let's see how Syracuse got there. But they nearly opened the scoring right here. Nicholas Kalukian rattling the crossbar.
I mean, Kalukian is the returner to this team, the only returning starter, and he had such an excellent chance early on.
This shot from Del Piore, fantastic save from Tomas Hutt. The only shot for Niagara in the first half.
I mean, how about these goalkeepers early in this game? It was 0-0 for a while, just on both sides. Excellent.
Jamie Barry called into action once and then a second time as well. And then Syracuse kept putting on the pressure, and this was where the breakthrough happened. Miggs cross finds the sophomore, Ezra Widman, New York zone, to open the scoring for SU.
First career goal for Ezra Widman, and that's exactly how you want to get it done. And why not another in the first half?
Here it comes. Chimre Omese gets his second goal in as many games. What a start to his SU career.
These young Syracuse players just impressing so much early in this game. These guys who we really haven't seen much of have been pretty sensational.
We'll take a look at those first half stats, and the shots on goal are very apparent, but the corners as well, 6-1.
Yeah, this is about exactly what we were expecting from this game. Maybe not the score line, but the fact that Syracuse was going to be the team on the attack. Niagara was always going to sit back. It's what we always see in these New York State battles, but what the Orange have done have been so successful in getting those shots on goal. 9 of 15 on net, and even when they sometimes don't go in, they get the corners.
Students in attendance, class starts tomorrow, but we've still got another 45 minutes to go from SU Soccer Stadium. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this break.